Alright, should we start?
Sure.
Alright, we have started. This is the podcast that
Yes.
we do. Hello,
Unnamed.
Bailey. I'm mome. He's Bailey, and this is podcast.
This is podcast.
And that was introduction.
Beautiful.
Yes. Uh, should we talk about whys and whats and what this podcast is and all that?
Sure. So, let me give my version and you give yours.
Alright.
So this is obviously not directed directly to you. It's kind of this is the weird thing about podcast conversations is they're directed to someone and to others at the same time. It's kind of weird. So I'm telling you
Yeah.
things you already know. But anyway, um, basically we are in a bigger Discord together. We have uh, strongly contrasting personalities, and yet we somehow like each other still. So there is strange conversations of I would say great philosophical and moral value that everyone can take from this.
Alright. Um, my version is that I want to piss everyone off until Wara kicks me out the server,
That's a good goal.
and also talk to you because that's fun. So killing two birds with one stone. All right. Should we start with topics? You want to choose first, or should I choose?
I'll choose first from your
All
list.
right.
I'm gonna go for New Year's resolutions because I'm interested at why you put that on there, and because it's
Okay.
vaguely topical at the moment.
Yes, that's why I put it on there. And actually, why I put it on there is because of people in our Discord.
Okay.
I'm gonna like real fast. So as you know, I am a big fan of CGP Grey,
Yes.
and CGP Grey did this thing, this video. Uh, I believe it's like 7 ways to be miserable,
Yeah. I
to
remember that one.
maximize misery. Okay, there it is. And here's the thing. In this video, he talked about goals and what goals are bad and what goals are good. And he called bad goals vapid goals. That is vague, amorphous, pie in the sky, irrelevant, delayed goals. And I believe there's a big problem with New Year's resolutions, and the main thing is that they are the textbook example of vapid goals. They are inherently delayed. Uh, any any goal you have shouldn't take a year to do. If it takes a year, it probably means that it's either vague and pie in the sky, or it's irrelevant to your life that you don't need to act on it now. You can do it across a year. So they are inherently bad goals. I hate New Year's resolutions. What do you think of New Year's resolutions, Bailey?
So it's funny you ask that because this is the first year I've ever done a New Year's resolution.
Really, what was it?
It's both me and Jasmine doing it together, my girlfriend. And that's kind of relevant. I'll get into that. And it's to read one book, one fiction, you know, word-based book a month.
Okay.
So this. I thought about all these pitfalls when I went to do this. The first thing is that it is over a year, but it's in smaller segments.
Yeah,
That's a little more controlled.
it's like a goal that you can do right now. It's
Yeah,
I am going to change my routine, and I'm gonna start doing it right now. It's not about doing it by the end of the year. I'm just gonna start doing it right now, and somehow that's a yearly goal.
and it's very concrete, unlike like eat better, go to the
Yeah.
gym. It's a specific thing.
But the reason why I wanted to do this is because of Brandon and Sky, who
Okay.
have
Okay,
who
yeah.
made New Year's resolutions that they said on the Discord, and they are both absolutely horrible.
I didn't see
let's-
these.
Let's start. I literally, after they said it, I said, "Do not, don't do New Year's resolutions, people. They are the definition of vapid goals." And they made the most textbook New Year's resolutions. Here's Brandon's New Year's resolution is work on that self-hatred, same as every year. As guilt, failure, confidence, self-esteem, catastrophizing.
Yeah, catastrophizing.
That's a word, I guess. All right. And this is a horrible fucking New Year's resolution.
I like that embedded in the actual text is the fact that it's gonna fail.
Yes. Same as every year. Oh god. And Brandon has this problem of self-hatred, but this is the thing. What he's doing right here is not only a vapid goal, it is all of those things. It's all vague, amorphous, pie in the sky, irrelevant, and delayed. Well, maybe less irrelevant. Maybe this is a thing. But this is the problem. This is another problem with New Year's resolutions. You should never go with a goal, a big goal that you have, and then try to break it down into smaller goals. Instead, the way you should work your life around is you should make small goals and then find the commonality in those goals, and that will become your big goal. And continue doing small goals that help you in order to achieve a big goal. But don't start with the big goal and work yourself down. That's never going to work. And another thing that also CGP Grey has said, don't try to search for happiness. That's not going to work. You can't chase down happiness. You can't chase down working on self-hatred. You need to just better yourself in many small ways. Ignore the fact that you are self-hating, and eventually the working on self-hatred will happen regardless. I
completely agree with this because I think happiness is just in general such a bad goal. Happiness is not something. It's not a given in life. Like, make yourself feel of some worth to someone in some way, and maybe a little bit of happiness comes around every now and then. But happiness is a bad goal because it's destined to fail. Like, when people you love, die or start to die or whatever, you're not going to be happy, so you need something else.
Right, and this is a problem that I've noticed with Brandon in general, with him working on this self-hatred. It's that another thing in the CGP Grey video, don't try to look at happiness as if it's an island where people are happy all the time.
Yeah, for sure.
Brandon does this a lot. There's a lot of his more self-hating moments where you feel the envy of an imaginary person who is better than him, and he wants to be that person because he's happy all the time. He doesn't hate himself. He has confidence. He doesn't fail. He has self-esteem. He doesn't feel guilty. All he thinks is sad. But that person doesn't exist, and no person like that ever exists.
Sure.
So he's chasing an imaginary island that doesn't exist because he's envious of that island, and that's why he's self-hating. And I've tried to say this to Brandon a few times. I think he completely ignored me.
I think a lot of people completely ignore you.
Yeah, they do. Whatever.
But there's little golden nuggets in that gold mine of
of trolling.
Sure.
That is my life.
Yeah.
Let's look at Sky's one because it's just as bad.
Okay.
Let's see. Okay, but my goal is to find out what I really want to do with my life. Well, again, vapid, vague, amorphous, pie in the sky, irrelevant, well, not irrelevant, but delayed. It shouldn't be a New Year's resolution, and in fact, like, even if it was a goal, like, if just this month I want to find out figure out what I want to do with my life, it's a bad goal because it's VAP, it's vague, amorphous, and pie in the sky. You can't start with that in your mind. You can't put yourself that goal. You have to, like, take a look at what you're doing. Find things that you think you can improve and start with improving those. And the bigger goals that you want are gonna just come anyway.
For
Like,
sure.
yeah, if you just do all the small goals you want to do in life, you will end up doing big goals, because even like in your mind, the big goals that you come up with are just an extension of what you want in your lizard brain to do now.
Yeah, I think that's a problem with people now in general. There's this hedonistic sense of gratification, which I think makes New Year's resolutions more difficult because long term investment towards a goal is not something that people really understand how to do, because everything, entertainment, porn, everything is so close and so immediate that we've lost the ability to take things slowly and to think in smaller steps than these seismic, all consuming goals, like find out what I want to do. Although on that goal specifically, it's an interesting one for me because I've never had that conflict. I've never in my life not known what I wanted to do in general. I mean, it's changed, but I've never felt that lack of direction. And but I also think I never had that like eureka moment. And like with Sky, I know he's talked about wanting to work on games and stuff like that. And I think you just gotta do that. Try making a game. Try something small. And if you like it, then you like it. That's the only way you're gonna know. And that's the smaller goal. Try making a game. See what happens. Make one level. You know? And it's that sense that everything must be resolved instantly. Like, that's the subtext of a goal spread out over the New Year's. They really want it solved in, like, a month.
Yeah. Um, I don't want to talk too much about Sky because he's the kind of person who might actually listen to this podcast.
I like Sky a lot.
Yeah, and I also like Sky, and I don't want him to hate me. I've already kind of dunked on him. But I'm gonna also pay a little lip service to Fargo, who said my goals are the same ones I have right now. That that's really vague, but just by saying that, I don't think they're very good goals. If you've been having them for some time, it's the same problem as Brandon's same as every year. If you have the same goals same as every year, don't you think it's time to change your goals? Maybe they aren't working out.
Maybe they are. Maybe the thought of having a New Year's resolution suggests a problem to resolve. So yeah, I'll change nothing and hope it gets better.
Yeah, I'll change things whenever I notice them, and things get better.
I mean, that's a better strategy. At least you don't earmark it for a certain time of year. Obviously
Yeah,
there's a arbitrariness to it.
yeah,
There's a non-arbitrariness to it too, right? It's like the start of a new cycle, a new life, blah blah blah. New year, new me, as the kids say.
yeah. I don't buy that, but
But it's some way for your brain to go, oh yeah, this is a time to do something new. But if you
yeah,
need
it's
that spatial recognition for a planetary recognition for you to make goals, probably not a good goal maker.
yeah. I also wanna bring up one of your topics, and since we've been kind of talking about it, let's talk about depression.
Okay.
That's a good one to start with, right?
Yeah, great. New Year's resolution and depression. I mean, that's the title.
They go hand in hand.
Yeah.
I mean, they really do go hand
You,
in hand.
you go first. Tell me what you think.
Oh, I mean, I've been depressed for like 6 years or something,
Hmm.
ever since I was in middle school until I got into college. Um, I want to say that CGP Grey video did in fact change my life. It did actually alter the way I was thinking, to the point that just by thinking differently, I managed to do things that did in fact make me happier. Managed to like make me change my mind, because in the end, a lot of times it's a problem with your worldview of how you perceive things. Sometimes it's just genuinely hurtful, and many times it's not necessarily true. Sometimes it's like good if to have a somber view of the world, if it's true, or if it has a lot of validity in it, of provable validity. But a lot of times it doesn't. It's just there's small things you can change about the way you think that have a huge impact, and they don't necessarily mean that you have to view the world in candy colors and need to be mindlessly happy. Just small little changes. Also, I guess about the time I started smoking was also about time when I started getting less depressed, mostly because it gave me something to do other than stay in bed and watch YouTube videos in my off time. It at least made me open up a window so I can smoke, and feel the cold air on my face, and not just sit in bed and do nothing. It made me at least move. It made me want to go out more and have friends more, and try to socialize more. Like this is a really big problem. I remember when Jesse, Endless Jess, was saying about Monkey, about how his view was inherently self-destructive. It was the defeatist view that depression is just something you can't do anything about it. It's just something you have to live with. Where that type of mindset inherently produces depression. It might be something more severe. It might be something completely chemical. It might be that you have the perfect mindset, but like your brain chemistry just does not allow you to be happy. But for many people, that's not necessarily true with depression. They're just not happy because, well, our world has somehow managed to have a culture where young people get into this depression mindset that they can't get out of because our emotional education isn't very good, and even the emotional education that people attempt to have doesn't help them in that way. There's this actual not interesting YouTube channel called The School of Life, I believe, which is entirely about educating people about emotional education. It's pretty interesting. It has some pretty cool things. I don't watch it very often, but the videos I have watched are pretty good, and they might actually help people. So maybe go watch that if you're depressed. That might help you. I don't know. I've only found out about it after I got out of depression, but maybe it will help you. But what I was getting into is that Jesse was saying that about Monkey, but the thing is, I also having a problem with like this thing that Digi said, and that apparently other people are saying, like denial, that he's a doomer, and that misanthropy is just how he is. He's just a misanthrope and can't get out of that. And I think that's just as much of a defeatist mentality as what Monkey had about depression. And of course, lack of social interaction can also lead to depression. And I think lots of people think that they are misanthropes and that's just their personality. And, you know, we've talked about, not on this podcast, but we've talked about individualism before, and herd individualism, as I will now call it. I'm not gonna say what that is. That's like another conversation and a half. Maybe like in the final show we ever do before we die. We'll talk about what individualism, but now we don't have time. I don't feel like talking about it.
Time's running out, you know.
Yeah.
The clock
Time's
is ticking.
running out on our lives.
Okay.
We can't have the same conversation 50 times.
Okay. Let me take my part in this. So I have been depressed in one way or another, or on and off since I was probably 16. So that's 5 years. So a little less than you. My depression has been in more severe spikes than a general thing. So there's been like 3 major incidents. And the difference with me compared to you with that CGP Grey video, because I'm pretty sure I watched that whilst I was depressed, is that my depression was more, or the way it manifested, you know. I don't know if this would be the essence of it, or if this is just it's one of its tendrils, you know, into your brain, was an existential one, was a one of value in life. And I found its arguments of nihilism and how to enact that. You know, some people say they're a nihilist, but they act as if they act out values, even if they don't explicitly believe in them. But in that mindset, it was like, how do you act out these values for real? Like, if you believe them enough to act them out. And obviously suicide is a very obvious answer to that. You know, all of life is of no value and of no meaning, so don't do it. And the existence itself is just cruel and slow and long and more more effort than it's worth, I suppose. And those thoughts, those were almost as powerful as the depression itself, and I would go into these thoughts. I try and like argue with them or rationalize with them, and it would always lead me into a kind of a downward spiral of sorts. And so I really found my way out through different types of thinking, more spiritual, more religious thinking.
Sorry, Bailey. You're just talking about all this, and then my neighbors are very loudly singing "Happy Birthday." And,
Well, you can just cut your audio, right?
Yeah, it just made me laugh. I thought it was funny.
Yeah.
Deep conversation here on the other side of the wall. Happy birthday.
And there was something like that. There was just something very macabre about life. I really vividly remember I was walking towards to go on a tram to go home, and I just saw all these people swarm off because it was the last stop, you know, so everyone gets off. And I just saw, like, in front of my eyes, these people changed from, like, people to just, like, these flesh creatures hopelessly walking around in the darkness. And it's like, the thing with depression is it feels like you have some, I don't know if this is true for you, Momi, but for me, it feels like you have some secret knowledge, and that if everyone else would just think straight, they would be depressed too.
Yeah. That's the edgy teen kind of depression.
But it just feels,
I've been
true.
There. Yeah, it does feel true when you're there.
Yeah. And so, yeah, I found my way out through thinking in these very different ways, and thinking about things metaphysically and structurally, rather than the very empirical way that would, I think, more define your way of thinking than mine. And I saw the world differently, and as a place with value, and as a place that was worth doing something in. I've always had like a strong moral pull in me, like a strong sense, not always a well attuned sense, but that was there, and I found a way to reintegrate that, and really in the last year those things have come together in a way that's made me feel like a proper person, I suppose, rather than just this I don't know how to describe a person who's depressed, but it's not a person in the same sense I am now.
Yeah.
I
Maybe I
was
should talk. Go ahead.
I was curious. You mentioned emotional education, and what do you think is the cause for people being so uneducated now? Has this changed? I mean, it seems like more people are depressed, but obviously you could interpret
Well,
that different ways.
yeah, I think the problem is safety. Uh, on
Okay.
some level, safety prevents us from the same amount of dopamine we used to have. Everything comes easily for us, and it should come easily for us, and more as time passes. That's what we call progress. It also results in us getting less dopamine, and since the world is in some ways more but in most ways less interested in uh, this emotionality, the emotional part of the psyche that can result us in depression and this problem that people have with not getting enough dopamine and epinephrine. It results in just lots of people uh, getting into this cycle through the world, being interested in other things, and through their environment being much prone to lack of dopamine through the easiness of our lives right now. Kind of like it's like first world problems. TM. Depression is literally the first world problem.
Yeah, I mean, it's
Um,
it's hard to be depressed when you're thinking of other things, I guess.
yeah, like when you are do stuff that is successful and making you survive, then you get dopamine,
Hmm.
and the more dopamine you get, the less probable you are to be depressed, and the less probable you are to think about depressing stuff,
Hmm.
because you just fucking killed a mammoth, or you stopped your neighbor from raping your wife or something. I don't know.
The two common ones, yeah.
Yeah. You have survived another minute in Australia. Like a million dopamine.
That explains why
uh,
Australians are so friendly, man.
yeah, Australians are never depressed.
Grateful to be alive just for a second longer.
Yes. Um, but
So,
yeah.
do you think the solution to that is a cultural change, or do you think it's a. How do you think that solution will come about, and do you think it will come about soon?
Uh, I think just emotional education being much more prevalent. The fact that, like, this is like a common problem with schools that they don't. There's many things that people need to survive in society, but they aren't taught in school. And also, there's this like now with both parents for a lot of people working, there's uh, this
Or only having one parent?
or only having one parent. There's this new result that kids are less being raised by their own parents
Hmm.
and more being raised by education systems like kindergarten or nannies or schools.
Hmm.
And those schools are not interested in the kids' emotional maturity, or
Hmm.
at least most systems around the world are not interested in that. So maybe have systems more interested in that, like pay more attention to that, pay more attention to uh, ways to make the kids more uh, psychologically healthy, not just smarter. Not just they can say all those events from history and what years they were from, you know.
Sure.
Also, here's another thing that's probably a problem with with the birth rate in uh, first world countries going lower and lower. Also, the result of that is lots of single single kids, kids that are what the fuck is the word?
What are
Kids
you
that
trying
don't
to
have
describe?
brothers or sisters.
Only child.
Only childs. There we go. Lots of only childs, and only childs are inherently like they've been studied. It's been studied that lonely childs are more probable to be antisocial or not have proper social skills.
Just makes sense, right?
Yeah,
But do you
and
think
with more and more only childs, there's
so?
more and
So
more kids that are probable to not have social skills. And with less people who have social skills, there's less people who socialize in general, and even the kids who don't who do have social skills have less people who they can socialize with. So it's just the giant problem that hits everything across the board.
do you see a solution coming?
Not really.
This is the problem. Because things like this and the lowering birth rate and the amount of single parents, basically the best predictor for a child's success is if they have two parents. And no one has two parents anymore. Like seriously, it's of my age, it's an abnormality for one of my friends to have both parents still.
Yeah.
And obviously there are reasons for that, and there was struggles for being in marriages you couldn't get out of so easily. But there were also advantages to that, if you're stuck with someone, you have more of a responsibility or more of a sense to figure your relationship out rather than just being there as long as it's superficially pleasurable and then dipping as soon as it gets vaguely difficult, which I've seen, countless times in my life with other people. And there's that commitment to another person. I just think we don't know how to do it in a way, culturally. We're very self-oriented beings. And yeah, I don't see a good solution to that. Not without some kind of recapitulation of values, a new way for values to come to people.
Maybe new systems to encourage and make social interaction easier. Maybe new systems to make feeling rewarded more common. Like
But I
not
think
just
the problem is not
weak
that they're.
rewards, but yeah.
I think the problem is not that we don't know a solution, it's that we're not willing to enact it. Not enough people care.
I don't know, man. If Facebook could have the solution, I think they would do it immediately. That would basically make them God. That would put them on the same pedestal as Google, as like completely godly in our society. Maybe Facebook will do it.
Yeah, personally, I trust Facebook for everything.
No, I'm not saying that I trust Facebook. I'm saying that it could be within their company's goals to do stuff like that. The actions that they take and the way they work on their company, on the company's image, is in correspondence to doing something like this. In fact, I want to talk about Facebook in another topic, so I'm gonna leave it at that. And should
That's
I talk
fine.
about my time when I was depressed? Because I mostly talked about causes and solutions.
Yeah, sure.
But I
Tell me
never
what it's
talked about,
like. Give me the phenomena of your
because you've
depression.
talked about how it was for you.
Well, I mean, it's very us, right? I described the feeling, you described the fact.
Yes, I immediately went to causes and solutions, and you went to this is how it was for me.
Yep.
Yeah, that's us. For me, depression it still is mostly caused by fear. it's just a vicious cycle where I was afraid that my life isn't going in the way I wanted, uh, and that resulted in the fear uh, basically paralyzing me.
Hmm.
Sometimes just meaning that I didn't feel, I felt too fearful to do anything, but sometimes it legitimately meant paralysis. Like I was legitimately in moments paralyzed in my high school years. I would have moments where I would just sit there, like looking outside the window or looking down at the floor or something, and feeling completely unable to move unless someone came in and snapped me out of that.
Hmm.
And at one point in the second year of high school, I even tried to kill myself by going into a subway and jumping in front of a subway. And and then I was so scared, I was paralyzed to do it. So in a way, I'm so scared that I can't even kill myself,
Hmm.
and that thing that I was so scared that I can't even kill myself uh, was basically the crutch of my depression. I felt so useless that I couldn't even kill myself.
Hmm.
It made my depression 10 times worse. And it took until college to eventually get rid of it. And it still sometimes happens. It's a horrible cycle because if you don't do anything because you feel paralyzed by fear, then you can't do anything to make your life better. And as
Yeah.
time passes and you see that your life, that stuff is coming like tests and stuff, and you are too scared to study for them because you don't want to fail them, uh, you will probably fail them. There's more
Sure.
probability that you'll fail them because you're not doing anything about it. So
Well, I
that
wanted
makes you more
to.
scared, which makes you more paralyzed, which makes you do less studying and stuff
Well,
like
that
that.
actually brings me on something I've always thought about depression as a more artistically oriented person. In terms of how I perceive the world and think, I've always found depression really easy to personify. It has this kind of living quality to it, and it will do anything to keep itself alive. Like it not only creates those fears, but it tries to prove them to you with the way it directs your actions. Like it wants to self perpetuate. It wants to keep going. If does that make sense to you?
Yeah, it's like all memes. It's trying
Sure,
to perpetuate its existence.
sure.
It's a
It's just quite
virus.
convincing.
Yeah,
Do you
it's
think?
an ideal virus.
Yeah,
That means that it's a virus that is an idea, not that it's ideal to have it.
yeah. Do you think for you, do you see depression coming back as strong as before? Do you see yourself over it to an extent or over it entirely? What do you think?
I think the best thing that I've learned to deal with it is to be more chill and go with the flow more,
Mm-hmm.
uh,
For
and
sure.
relax more, which sometimes, like, I'm very easily stressed out person, so just knowing that I have to combat that, knowing what my enemy is, which is
Mm-hmm.
stress, which will bring me back into depression, I can at least now attempt to fight it. And I don't think that as long as I know it and as long as I can fight it, I don't think I will ever get that bad because I will never allow it to fester for so long.
Mm-hmm.
We're already at 42 minutes, Bailey. That was a doozy of a topic.
For sure. Two
Yeah.
doozies.
Maybe should we do another topic and then we do the special topic?
Sure. Should we do a simple topic?
Yeah, try to choose a simple topic.
Okay. Okay, I want to know the top one on yours right now on your topics is Incredibles 2 and why the internet is the worst. I have no idea what you're referring to. Tell me.
You don't. Here's the thing. There's always a crutch in Hollywood screenwriting, where there's types of comedy that you can put in that can sort of replace good writing, which is
Okay.
always bad. You should never replace good writing with anything. But in a lot of movies, if you can make some crass jokes, some throw the word fuck around, or make shit or fart jokes, sometimes that can result in replacing actually good writing. Like
Okay.
screenwriters do use that as a crutch. And that's been a problem in Hollywood comedies for a long time. But now I feel they found another one, which I think is so much worse. In fact, they found another two, which they were both in Incredibles 2, and I hated it. They
Okay.
were a cringy comedy and a hashtag relatable comedy. It's
Okay.
just that moment where when Mrs. Incredible goes to like that party and she meets all the other superheroes, right? That's basically like the first line in that scene is like the her valet saying, "You've been you're so happy to meet me," or "I'm so happy to meet you." I didn't stutter. That's his literal line,
I see.
which is just horrible. It's a horrible line. I mean, it's just hashtag relatable comedy. Oh, he's flustered when he meets that celebrity. I would be flustered if I met my celebrity. So relatable, right? So cringe. But it's not good writing. It doesn't add anything to the scene. It's
I
just
see
there
what you mean.
because comedy can replace good writing, and I hate that. And then the entire scene is literally just hashtag relatable and cringe comedy.
What
Everything
does this
about
have
it.
to do with the internet?
Yes, because this was the result of the internet. I
Okay.
completely blamed the internet and fucking and fucking meme culture and internet culture for bringing this down upon us. And I hate them. I hate this. Cringe is the worst. Cringe content is literally the worst. I hate it, and I hate everyone who is on the internet unless I like them.
That's a pretty extreme set of thoughts.
What do you think about this?
I totally get what you're saying. It's like it's almost like an action scene in a way, as action scenes can be. It's a jolt of like entertainment to keep the audience, I guess, pacified. Like,
Yeah,
aha,
it's
funny.
but not even that. It's like action scenes could have good
They
choreography, but
could, but they don't
it's like
always.
using explosions as a way to not have good choreography. We don't
Yeah,
need good choreography. We have all these explosions. We don't
sure.
need good writing. We have all this hashtag relatable. We can put it on Facebook. It's gonna be great. Moms are gonna love it.
I mean, I think the idea behind it is to establish empathy with a character in the most shorthand way possible, which I think leads to, and I could feel that with some of those exterior characters.
But here's the thing: you can also do that with good writing.
Absolutely, I think it's an easy way to do that, though. It's a very quick,
Yeah,
and you don't have to think about it
it's a
too hard.
crutch.
Yeah, it's a crutch, and it makes the characters feel general and like they're not quite there. They're not quite full people. They're just quirks,
Yeah.
or they're just an
They're
aspect.
quirks that are hashtag relatable.
Yes,
I can't say that enough. I hate that so much.
and
I
yet here
hate
you are.
internet. I hate meme culture. I hate memes.
Okay,
I'm an old man.
that is a topic for later.
Fucking internet kids, get off my lawn. I'm literally man yelling at cloud. The cloud is the internet cloud. I hate it. Get off my lawn, cloud. I think that's enough for that topic. Do you
That
want to
makes
add more?
sense. I have nothing more to add.
Okay. That was a short topic. It's good that you chose it. All right. Here's the special topic, Billy. And the
Woohoo!
topic is called "What the fuck do we name this?"
Okay.
What are we doing right now, Bailey?
So we are talking.
Okay.
Let's establish the base elements.
Okay.
Two people
Uh huh.
talking
Yeah.
through the internet Oh no.
Talking through the internet, is that the title?
Uh-oh.
What happened?
I don't know. Maybe some kind of quick expression of conversation, followed by
Mome
the
baley
medium.
talk, and then we add the subjects.
Okay, so here's my plan.
All right.
Some kind of general conversational word, and then the medium through which it is communicated.
You don't want anything like there's plenty of two people talking on the internet in a podcast. You don't want anything to like symbolize us, like what people are talking. What are the type of people that are talking?
What type am I?
I don't know. I would say that we are kind of like fire and ice, which is why I earlier said that you are where did I? Oh, there it was. I was way too high up. So I found it, and as I stated earlier, is that you have an inherently chill, relaxing voice and mannerism, and I have a spicy suit personality that makes people clench their butts. Yeah.
Okay, if we want to go for something, how about we can branch this out into like a romantic comedy, and we'll call it Opposites Attract.
Oh God, that sounds horrible. Oh no.
Okay. Hot and Cold by Katy Perry.
Yes, that's definitely. I'm gonna just call this Hot and Cold by Katy Perry. It's okay if we don't find anything good. I'm just literally gonna call this podcast Baley and Mome talk about Colin and the subjects that we talked about.
I don't know a way to shorthand this. Like, our names are kind of irrelevant.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know who you are. You don't know who I am.
Posh British person and Romanian gypsy talk about.
Perfect.
No, that's a little too long. Maybe we should like make that a little simpler.
What about just Posh and Gypsy?
Oh my God! That's actually good. That sounds good. It sounds right.
It sounds a little triggering.
Why?
Gypsy is a derogatory word.
Posh and peasant.
Posh and peasant. Okay.
That sounds good.
I think we're on the right track.
The bourgeoisie and the proletariat.
Oh, jeez.
The person who literally lives in a monarchy versus the person who lived. Well, I never lived under communism, but my country's been under communism. Sort of works.
Good for you, man. Good for you.
So bourgeoisie and proletariat.
I mean, that's a beautiful name. I'd click on it.
Bourgeoisie and proletariat talk. How about that?
Beautiful.
Amazing. Oh, should we end it now? I think 52 minutes is good enough.
Sure. Do you want to do an outro?
I don't know. Do you want to do an outro? I have no idea. This has been the bourgeoisie and proletariat talk.
Listen
Tune in
next time.
Next time for the Red Scare. How's that?
That's pretty good.
Okay. Okay, we're done.